Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia and it is time for my April TBR. I'm probably going to be speed talking because my pile of books is so huge. I don't even know, it's so out of control, and every month I say I'm not going to possibly read all these books, and I never do. I usually read about half of them and then I just go on some complete detour and read different books altogether. So I probably will do that again, but I still want to talk to you about what I am planning to read. I'm filming this about a week in advance of when it's actually going to air because I'm going to be out of town. So the wild card that could happen in between is that I did sign up to be a booktube judge, and I wasn't chosen in the first round, but if I do, I RSVP'd again. So if I do get chosen in the second round, there will be 6 books to read over April and May that I am not aware of right now. And I may or may not have already read them. Who knows? But I'm just going to plan as if that wasn't happening. And then if it happens, yay, I'll throw them in and shuffle up my plans. That's okay. So anyway, I want to talk about what I know I'm going to read and what I think I'm going to read and what I might read. And then later on, we'll see what I really read. All right, first of all, I am participating in Trans Girl April. This is a reading challenge hosted by Kevvie of Kevvie and Willow of Books and Bow, and I will include their channels below. If you go to their channels, you can see them discussing this reading challenge, book recommendations, and other fine content in their videos on their channels. And this is a challenge about reading books by transgender and non-binary authors in the month of April. I happen to live in Texas, and this is one of the states that has really unleashed a lot of really hostile legislature, proposed bills, and passed bills against the transgender community. Everything from they've repeatedly tried to put in laws about, who was in the bathroom. More recently, it's getting scarier because they've proposed laws that would govern whether or not a parent can seek health care for their transgender child, labeling parents who do seek that care as child abusers, and then all of the usual nonsense about drag shows. And then we've also had a high number of problems with challenges to material used in schools and libraries. For all these reasons and my concern about all this, I definitely was excited to hear about this reading challenge and participate and encourage other people to join in as well. So for the purposes of this challenge, I really wanted to use the public library. I think it's important to support your local library by using the materials that they are acquiring, especially if they are acquiring books that are going to possibly get them into challenges and hot water and people complaining. But you need to let them know that you appreciate them acquiring and keeping these books in their collection, and that you want those books to be there when somebody needs or wants to read them. You have to keep in mind that every library everywhere has a budget this size and a wish list this size. And so when they're making those decisions about what to keep, what to let go, what to buy, what not to buy, the stats, the circulation stats about what is being requested and checked out is really important. So even though I might not be the primary audience for some of these books, I want the books to be there in my community for anybody who needs or wants to read them. And while for me it might just be something I enjoy and part of my overall interest in reading diverse books, for someone else it might be really critical to be able to read a book like some of these at the right time in their lives. So I think that's really important. And so therefore I check these out. I know some people live in a place where there aren't any good choices at the library for transgender literature. And all I can say is just keep requesting it and let your library know that you are interested, and maybe things will improve. I don't know. But let's take a look at these books because they look pretty good. The first one is The Deep by Rivers Solomon. Rivers Solomon is non-binary and intersex and uses they, fair, and they, them pronouns. And they primarily write fantasy and science fiction. This particular book was inspired by a song of the same name by the band Clipping. Yetu holds the memories for her people. Her people, the Wajinru, descendants of pregnant African slave women thrown overboard by slave owners, live idyllic lives in the deep. Their past, too painful to be remembered regularly, is forgotten by everyone save one. So that kind of setup that one person holds the painful memories of a community kind of reminded me of The Giver. But this is, of course, a different setting and scenario. And so to me, that's pretty interesting to think that a novel was inspired by a song. So I'm very eager to give this slim novel a try and see how it works for me. The next one is a kid's book, and it is Too Bright to See. It's probably too bright for you to see. It's kind of a glare there. Too Bright to See by Kyle Lukoff. And Kyle Lukoff is a trans man who has previously written picture books, which keep getting challenged and banned. But this is his first chapter book, and it's also a pretty slim volume, and it won a Newbery Honor Medal last year, I suppose. This book came out in 2021, so it came out right after, I think right about the time I was retiring. So I missed out on this when I was an elementary librarian. But it is about a kid named Bug who's 11 years old, and in the summer before middle school, Bug, it's very vague here on the description, but apparently Bug comes to an understanding that he's transgendered. But it really, on this flyleaf, it talks mostly about a haunted house and a ghost is trying to tell him something. So they're kind of sidestepping the issue there in the description box, but I'm looking forward to see how they present this topic to that younger audience. And then I have the next one. Sounds so fun, and it was the most random thing I found at the library, and it's called Trans-Galactic Bike Ride: Feminist Bicycle Science Fiction Stories of Transgender and Non-Binary Adventures, edited by Lydia Rogue. And what's even funnier is that this is like book 5 or 6 in an entire series of feminist bike short stories. They have pedal zombies, bikes in space, and a bunch of them. But this one is specifically transgender and non-binary bike stories. So, and then they're science fiction, an independent publication from a publisher called Microcosm in Portland, and it says it's the most diversified publishing house and distributor with a focus on the colorful, authentic, and empowering, and that they have been around for 80 years. So who knew? But I mean, just the picture, this looks so fun, and I cannot wait to try these out. Then we have the last two are the ones that I feel dubious about. And the reason why is because they are both romance novels. And I don't read romance novels. I don't think I read romance novels. I don't gravitate to that genre, but I know I read a lot of books that just happen to have romances in them. But then when I kind of thought about it a little bit more, one of my all-time favorite authors is Jane Austen, and her 6 novels, 5 of which I love. Looking at you, Mansfield Park. But the 5 that I love, I mean, they kind of are romance novels. So maybe I do like romance novels. Maybe I just haven't been reading, well, I haven't been reading any of them. I can't say I didn't read the right ones because I just like sidestepped the genre altogether. But with all of those disclaimers, here's what I found, and I guess the romance novels, maybe I will love them and find out that I've been sleeping at the wheel on romance. But first we have Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. Kacen Callender describes themselves as Black, queer, trans, and identifies with they, them, and he, him pronouns. And this author has written several books, I believe, children and young adult books primarily. This is the story of Felix, who is a Black, queer, transgendered student in high school, and somebody starts posting transphobic messages with his dead name and old pictures, and he sets up a revenge plan to catfish this person out but somewhere along the way, a romance happens. So I don't know who he falls in love with, but it's a teen romance. So am I going to like this book? If anybody's read this, tell me if this is going to be, am I going to like it? Is it good? Is it silly? What is it? It looks super cute, so I should at least give it a chance. And then my last one for this challenge is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke and Emezi. I may be pronouncing that wrong, I hope not. But this author has written several books all in different genres. They look pretty interesting. They describe themselves as non-binary and transgendered. It's a Nigerian author, and they use they, them pronouns. And so this just happened to be sitting in the new releases at the library, so I checked it out. But then later on, I looked up the author, and they do have their other books as well. So I don't know if I picked out the right one for me or not, but this is what I got. It's about a woman named Faye who is 5 years out from an accident that killed the love of her life, it says. And then she is starting to get back out there, and she might have met somebody special. And then I guess we see what happens. So it just sounds, it sounds like a romance novel. But I have heard excellent things about this author, and so I'm going to give it a chance. Unless somebody tells me that I should read a different book by Emezi instead, then maybe I'll go see if that book is in instead. But this one is like, I don't know. We'll see. Romance. I don't know. So I am trying to impact the stats with checking out these books because data matters a lot at your library. So I wish you all well if you also are looking for books for this challenge, and please take a look at Kevvie and Willow's channels for more information and inspiration about this trans girl April. All right, so now I have a couple of books that go with other reading things that I'm participating in, but they are both a little sketchy as far as whether I'm really going to read a whole lot. The first one is the Classics and Company Book Challenge is reading this month, and it is this humongous collection called Collected Fictions by Jorge Luis Borges, I think. And I have not read anything by this author. It was interesting. I saw that people in the group were having trouble finding this, but my library had like 49 entries by this author. They had him in English, they had him in Spanish. Apparently, he's the big man about town here because they had a ton. And this was actually a high school copy because one of our public libraries is linked to one of the high schools. So here it is, and I figure I could at least try a story or two and see if I like them or not, and maybe I will find somebody new that I want to read. But I can tell you right now, I'm not reading all of that, but I'll give it a shot. Also, the Forster group is doing nonfiction this month, and I found only one nonfiction book at my library for Forster, and that is The Hill of Devi. And this is apparently a book that he wrote about a time when he worked in India as the secretary of a Maharaja, and that this is sort of a kind of a good background material for his novel A Passage to India. But I'm going to be honest, it looks pretty boring. And so I think, you know, I like the pictures, but I think I'll read the intro and just see how it goes in the conversations in the Discord. But I don't really have a plan to actually sit and read this book. I'd rather just read A Passage to India, frankly. So I am looking forward to the month when we read that. So that's probably all I'm going to do with that. Now, everything else in this pile is just the randomness. So I'm going to just rapid fire show you all the things that I feel like I might read. We have Persuasion by Jane Austen. Why wait for Jane Austen July if you could have Anne Elliot April? I feel like it's time to reread Persuasion. I've read it a couple of times and I've been thinking about it lately, so I feel like I might read it very soon. But if I change my mind, instead I might read The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. I'm probably not going to read both of them. I'm going to do one or the other. Also, I got this recently and I'm really eager to get to it pretty soon. I have some questions for you by Rebecca Makkai. It's a mystery. It's thick. It's getting great reviews. I want to get to it very soon. I have shown this about 3 or 4 times, but I still haven't read it. But it's getting closer and closer. I've even read the first page and then gone with another book. So it's inching ever closer. Part of the problem is I have to be in the right mood because it's heavy material thematically or subject-wise, even though it's a thin volume with beautiful French flaps. But it's kind of a downer, so I got to be in the right mood. This came in at the library. It's on the Women's Prize long list. Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. It's about a Black family from Memphis. I think they are, let's see, starts in 1995, and it's about a young woman who grows up named Joan, who is an artist. She paints portraits in the community, and it unfolds over 70 years through a chorus of unforgettable voices. I love those family saga type books, so I'm going to give that one a try. And then we have the most random things yet in the pile. I'm going to save this one right here for last because I got to explain. This I saw sitting on the shelf, great short books. I just want to flip through this and read a little bit about all the books that are listed. It's just a description of a bunch of short novels that the author recommends. This one I picked up solely because the title is fabulous. Stories No One Hopes Are About Them by A.J. Bermudez. I know absolutely nothing about this book. Has anybody read it? I loved the octopus tentacles and the title, and for that and no other reason I checked it out. And what harm can it do me? I'll read a story or two and see what happens. I can't remember why I checked this one out. It's also short stories. Homesickness by Colin Barrett. I think I recognized it from somebody talking about it on a BookTube video, but I can't remember if they loved it or they hated it. But I checked it out. And then last but maybe, hopefully not least, I checked out Liberation Day by George Saunders. And here's my true confession. Are you ready? I've never read anything by George Saunders. I check his books out and I don't read them. I have checked out 10th of December. I have checked out Lincoln in the Bardo more than once. And now I've checked out Liberation Day. And I've never read a damn word of any of them. Now, it's not that I feel like I should. I don't have like some kind of Saunders shame. I actually, each time, I'm actually interested in wanting to try Saunders and see if I like his writing. And every time, somehow I never read it. Like I never get in the mood, or I run out of time and have to return it. But I was haunted by Lincoln in the Bardo for like 2 years. And finally I decided, I guess I'm not going to read it. But every now and then I still think about it and I think maybe I will read it. So once again, it was just sitting there and I thought, okay, I'm going to check it out. Can I at least read one story? Can I do that and see if it does anything for me? Because, otherwise I'm going to go to my grave always wondering if I would have loved George Saunders. Okay, that's the end of the pile. There's more, but I gotta cut it off somewhere. So I will be reading some of these for sure. Some of these probably not at this time, and something else will interlope that I will read instead, and we'll have to wait and see as the weeks unfold what actually happens. So I would love to hear what you are planning to read in the month of April, what challenges you might be participating in, or your own personal reading goals. What do you have up your sleeve? So let me know about anything you've read from my pile or anything exciting in your pile, and we will talk soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.